Well, you actually don't have to book any flights at all for today's edition of Wonder the World. I mentioned last month that I had spent the night on top of Table Mountain in the overseer's cottage. And so many listeners emailed me about it that evening, asking for details. How did you book? How much did you pay? How did you get there? How many people were you, etc.? You know, I thought perhaps it's best we do an on-air segment about how to access this opportunity, because it was something I had heard referenced before but never thought of doing until friends who were coming from Australia, former South Africans, coming home for a visit, invited us to join their group, and we had the most magical evening up there. Even though we couldn't see a thing of the sparkling city lights, we were sitting in thick cloud. It rained the whole way down the next day, and you know what? It didn't matter. It was such a special experience. And yeah, contrary to what some of you believed, it was not a media freebie. I was not there as a guest of Sanparks or experiencing some kind of special privilege. I was just an ordinary traveller who happened to be lucky enough to be invited to join a group who had booked the overseer's cottage. It is accessible to everybody. So today we're going to explain how it works, what you'll pay, how you'll get there, how far in advance you need to book, etc., and what you need to take with you and not take with you if you are going up to spend a night there. It's a huge pleasure to have with us on the line Sanparks Regional General Manager Bongani Mnisi to tell us more. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, and welcome to CapeTalk.
Hi, good afternoon, Pippa, and good afternoon to your listeners.
It's a pleasure to have you with us, Bongani. Let's just start with a bit of history of the Overseer's Cottage. I believe it was built over 100 years ago. Can you tell us a little bit more about how it came to be there?
Yes, absolutely. Just a quick one is that Overseer's Cottage, it's really a historic mountain escape, combining heritage, adventure, and spectacular views from the top of Table Mountain. And of course, it offers our visitors a rare chance to stay overnight in a secluded area of the park, just to experience the blend of history, nature, and of course, hiking. And of course, it was established way back in the 1890s as a base to construct the reservoirs up the Table Mountain. At the time. Okay. So this was basically created to house the workers that were building the Woodhead and Haley Hutchin reservoirs up the Table Mountain.
Okay, so those dams which you can still see today and are very close to the Overseas Cottage are the reason that the cottage exists. So over 100 years old, the original building, which is the most gorgeous stone construction. And over the years, Bongani, I know it's been used as an accommodation base as part of the Hurikwacho Trail. It's been used by scouting parties for many, many years. For how long has it actually been available to the general public to book to just go and spend a night in?
So ever since the park was established, it has been used since then, since the park took over way back in 1998.
Okay.
And it's been used basically following the use of it as a worker base. It was repurposed as a self-catering mountain retreat for part of National Park. I think you can still see the history from the material that it was built with, which is basically the local sandstone, and that you will imagine that, in those days, it was really more practical to build whatever you needed from your local material. And I think the engineers those days were really spot on, by what it looks today, and that it's still standing strong.
Absolutely. Standing strong, wind resistant, rain resistant in the case of the night that I was there, Bongani. And also worth mentioning that there are actually two cottages. So there is the original main building, and then there is a little annex just a few steps away, which adds some additional accommodation. Am I right in saying a maximum number it can accommodate between those two cottages is 16?
Yes, absolutely. So we've got the two cottages, the one accommodating up to 10 people, and we've got the one that you just mentioned now, which is the Dizer that sleeps up to 6. Essentially, what we're looking at here is you have a base rate for 4 people. So if you were to book it, I think for the first 6 people, you pay a specific amount. And then if you, of course, more people with children, you have an additional fee that you can pay. And I think ideally it's best for a family or a group of people that are hiking together to use it. It's not ideal for different families and so on to book it.
You need to book it for exclusive use, not share it, because all of the facilities are shared: the kitchens, the showers, the loos, etc. So it does make space. For those who want to know the sums, I mean, it works out to be a very affordable rate per person. If you take full capacity, 16 people, the rate is just over 10,000 rand for the night, which works out to 625 rand a person for sleeping in a proper bed with linen provided. There are hot water geysers, proper working showers, proper flushing loos. So although it's very rustic accommodation, Bongani, it's very comfortable rustic. Do you think that's a fair description?
Absolutely. But I think what's also very interesting, before you even get there, I mean, it's got everything you need, the lighting, we've got an inverter there. So you really are going to experience nature, the rusticness, but you're still sleeping in comfort. I think, people who don't like hiking and camping, this combines hiking and luxury, but also with some tranquil, exclusivity that you can only find, here in Table Mountain. I mean, where else in the world would you have a cottage like this? It is basically hard to find, but it's a germ that people hardly know about. So I think, talking about it here, it will even make it more inaccessible, because I can tell you these people, I have not even gotten a chance myself to get sleep there, because it's forever booked.
Yeah,
it's forever booked. It's so famous, and yet it's what it is.
I got very lucky. As I said, friends of ours booked, and they booked about 6 months in advance. In fact, I think they booked their entire trip to South Africa around securing a date at the Overseer's Cottage, and we got to join in the fun. We will talk in a moment, for those who are asking, about the different hiking routes by which you can reach it. But just before we leave the sort of the facilities themselves, Bongani, as you've mentioned, it's comfortable accommodation in proper beds. Some of them are bunk beds, some of them are single beds. You will be sharing, there are a couple of rooms that have just 2 beds in them, and then some have 2 double bunks, and some will have 4 single beds, for example. I do just want to mention one thing, which is that the annex accommodation with the extra 6 people, it's a very steep staircase to reach it. So do bear that in mind if you are booking for a group with, shall we say, sort of varied ability and accessibility challenges. If it's a group of elderly hikers, for example, you will need to put them in the main cottage, and those with more sprightly knees in the annex. We put the youngsters upstairs, and they were absolutely fine, but it is a very steep stairway to reach the beds in that second cottage. Bongani, in terms of the sort of the shared living and catering spaces, there's a very comfortable lounge with a fireplace for winter nights. There's a well-equipped kitchen with sort of, large catering. They're big pots, big frying pans. It's designed for a big group to share and really have fun cooking their meals together. There are braai facilities as well. So it's basic, but all that you need was there in our experience. Bongani, the one thing that isn't there is electricity. So we do need to warn everybody that you need to take your lanterns, take your head torches, take some candles with you. That's half the magic of the experience, is watching the sun go down, and then as it gets dark, lighting up the torches and candles. But apart from that, a very well-equipped facility, linens and towels provided, etc. So you don't have to carry anything like that with you. And Bongani, on that note, you don't even have to carry your catering supplies either, because part of the experience of booking the cottage is that you will have porters drive your catering supplies up to the top for you, not so?
That's absolutely correct. And I think the point that you are highlighting there is that even those who do not hike regularly, they're able to meet at Constantia Neck parking area, which they will take a 6-kilometer hike, which is very short. I mean, it will take you about 2 to 3 hours. Of course, if you're taking it slow, which is what we encourage, because it's not about just getting to the cottage. The views are spectacular. So we want people to enjoy the scenic view of the mountains as they continue to their destination. And of course, the patronage that you're talking about, the porterage. Yeah. So that's what we do. And I think also what's very good here is that we provide drinking water. I mean, someone would ask, do they have drinking water up there? We provide you with a 25-liter drinking water, but if you need more, you can bring your own, which of course we will bring it for you. And wood, and we're only using charcoal because of the polyphagous Bora shortwater beetle that is attacking our trees and that.
That's interesting. So the reason for the only charcoal rule, we were not sure if it was fire related, but it's actually to avoid contamination by the shottle borer beetle. That's very interesting to hear. So if you are going to braai, we had lovely burry rolls on the braai, but it'll be a charcoal braai at the top.
That's right.
Okay, just for anybody coming in midway to this conversation, on the line with us is Bongani Mnisi, who is Sanparks Regional General Manager, chatting to us about how you get to experience what I experienced in the middle of February, spending a night on top of Table Mountain in the overseer's cottage. A really, really fun thing to do with a group of friends. In terms of getting there, as Bongani's referenced, there is a very easy route from Constantia Neck, and our party, half of us did the easy route because we were under time pressure. And I think we got to the top in well under 2 hours. The other part of the very fit and younger members of our party came up from Kirstenbosch and I think went up Skeleton Gorge and across. So had a slightly steeper and more challenging climb. But obviously you can come up any route you want as long as you've got enough time to make your way across to the Overseer's Cottage, which is located very close to the De Villiers, Alexander, Victoria Dams and the Woodhead and Healy Hutchinson reservoirs. Now, Bongani, one of our listeners, Warren, is asking, saying when we walked past the Overseer's Cottage, we noticed that there were big no swimming signs on all of the dams. Can you explain why you're not allowed to swim there, please?
Certainly, these are, of course, dams used by City of Cape Town, to, replenish their stock, and that ideally no swimming is allowed at any of these dams. And I think that's what it is. I think across any reservoirs or dams available in Cape Town anywhere, swimming is not allowed. And in National Park, the only swimming is allowed in Silvermine Dam. But anyone that's used for drinking water, swimming is strictly prohibited. I think that's the main reason for it, Pippa.
Okay, obviously you also factor in, I'm going to mention safety concerns. We know that somebody sadly lost their life to drowning up there not too long ago, so it is something to consider as well. But Warren, the main reason being it's part of the city's water supply. We also have a question in from Sue. I hear you saying that you can porter your catering and bags to the top. Can you porter people, she asks? Can an elderly group member request a lift to the top along with the luggage if they're not able to walk up?
Unfortunately, not. I think, okay. We would really encourage that anyone that is, have some limited mobility, probably take some time because, the cottage is there. If one is struggling, you can take your time. We just put here 2 to 3 hours. But a person can start, early morning because you only check in from 2:00. So you can really take your time, Pippa, to get there. Once you book it, it's yours and you can stay there as long as the amount you booked it for. So, but we're unfortunately able to carry people. I think that would spoil the experience, I take it, Pippa, you would agree.
Yeah, the beauty of it is doing it slowly and stopping en route to enjoy those views. As I said, we did the Constantia Neck route and it was, I think, about 1 hour 50, including many, many stops to take photographs of the views and stops for a bite, a nibble on the way up, etc. So we took it very, very easy and managed it in under 2 hours. And the whole route from Constantia Neck is on a jeep track. So it really is solid going underfoot. There are 1 or 2 steeper bits. Obviously, you're zigzagging your way up the side of a mountain, but so you must expect that. But it is a very, I think, a very, very manageable hike. Ryan messaging in to say, I went up years ago. It was the most amazing experience. It was 30 degrees at Camps Bay and yet pouring with rain at the top. And we went up via the Casteelpoort route. Nobody in our party did that one, but would that be coming over from the Camps Bay side, Bongani?
Yeah,
okay.
That's right. All of these other routes are very challenging. I recently did the Skeleton Gorge one, which of course took me almost 5 hours to get up. Because that's very, very steep and absolutely challenging. So one has to prepare themselves. But I think what's good here is that the destination, it's one to die for. So even if you are unfit, the destination would really make you feel so good and you would know that it was definitely worth it when you get up there.
It absolutely is. We're talking about staying in the Overseer's Cottage, and if you have any questions about it, please send a very quick WhatsApp to 072 567 1567. Just a comment from Taryn suggesting that perhaps a little bit of signage is needed on the Constantia Neck route. She said there were 1 or 2 turns where we weren't quite sure which way to go. A Okay, point made, Taryn, and I know exactly which turns you're talking about because we also stood there. But I will also add to that it became quite obvious quite quickly because it's a very busy route. Bongani, for those who worry about security and walking in groups, etc., that route, both on the way up and on the way down, for us, we were amazed at how many people were up and about, both in the afternoon going up and for us early morning because some of us had to get to work that day. So we came down quite early in the day, and there were hikers and dog walkers and cyclists every couple of minutes. I mean, that trail is in really regular use.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what's very good is that we are reviewing all our signage across the park to make sure that where there are missing signs or broken or need maintenance are going to be changed. And we've also strengthened our security. We've appointed safety and security manager for the Table Mountain, one of its kind, in the parks division, and particularly to make sure that our visitors feel safe when they come to the mountain. I mean, where else in the world where you have a city and you have a national park? And we want to make sure that when people are tired and irritated by the happenings of the city, they can escape to the mountain. So that's why we are putting more emphasis in making sure that the mountain is getting safer each day.
That's good to hear. Steve is asking if you can reach the hut from the cable car. Again, you could if you set off early enough, but Bongani, that's a walk of several hours, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think the overseer's cottage can be reached from anywhere, depending on how adventurous you are on the day. And I think with various groups you can split it. You can walk through different routes, and you can get there and share stories of your experiences from the various trails that you would have taken.
Again, I want to say that the group that we went up with in February varied in age across probably 6 decades. I think the full span might have been 5 or 6 decades, varied in fitness levels, varied in background and travel experience, and everybody just simply had the most magical evening. Whether you want to make a tough hike of it or an easy walk of it, the accommodation was comfortable, the catering facilities were plentiful. It got quite cold the night we were there, so we were able to eat inside. There's a large dining area. Everybody could squeeze around a single table, which was a lot of fun and really a very, very special experience, even though we didn't get the twinkling lights of the city below us because it was completely disappeared into the clouds, but have to go back to experience that another time. Bongani, the last thing to ask you is if listening to all of this, some of our listeners are wanting to go and make a booking right away, where do we need to send them to make that booking?
They can go to our website, which is reservations@sanparks.org, or they can contact our number at 012-428-9111, or they can visit our Cape Town office at Kloofneck, which is at corner Kloofneck and Signal Hill Roads, or they can even contact us at 021-741-2372 or 4 right at the end. I think, what's also very good is just to say that the prices stay the same except for the times between the 11th and the 13th of January. So the 11th of December to the 13th of January, that's where you might have about between 10 or 13% increase, but any other time of the year, it stays consistently the same price. And you could pay additionally currently about 620 or so per additional adult. This is above the 6, which you would have paid, and 310 Rand per child.
Okay, so a discounted rate for children as well. Good to know. Bongani Mnisi, thank you so much for taking the time to share all of that information with us today, and all the best to you and your team at Sanparks. Thank you for joining us.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having us.
It's a great, great pleasure. Bongani Mnisi is the Sanparks Regional General Manager.